and welcome to another Maine SBDC webinar. My name is Kelsey Reardon, and I'm with the USM State Office, hosted by USM. There we go. And we are joined today by Maine SBDC Business Advisor and Center Director from NMDC, Brandon McDonald. So he's going to be going over some technology options for your small business. As we know, technology moves at a very fast speed, and so we want to make sure that you are using the resources that are available to you. So he's going to be going over some easy to access tech options for your small business. We were discussing, he actually presented all of this to our business advisors recently at a professional development conference. So it's really great that you guys are getting this information as well. But our business advisors are also available to help answer any of additional questions you might have. So if you're not familiar with the Maine SBDC, we are the Small Business Development Centers, and we are a federal program. So every state has a program, and we have centers and advisors throughout the state. And we offer confidential, no-cost business advising. So basically, any question you could have about a small business, we could either answer or find the answer or connect you with someone who has the answer. So we can't give legal or accounting advice, but we can certainly connect you with some lawyers and accountants. So if you're not already set up with a business advisor, there's a big orange button on our website that says request advising, and that's the fastest way to get into our system. We will connect you with the center and the advisor that's geographically closest to you, but because we're still doing everything via Zoom, we can also connect you with someone who maybe specializes in your industry or an issue that you're facing. So later today, probably actually tomorrow, I'll send out a follow-up email with all of today's resources and a link to the recording. And that will also include all of our contact information and an easy link to click to set up business advising, so you don't have to go searching around for that. If you have any questions today, go ahead and put those in the chat. We'll definitely have time for Q&A at the end if we don't answer your questions along the way. But also feel free to respond to any email you have ever gotten from me, and it will end up in the right place. I'll also include Brandon's contact information in my follow-up email, so you can reach out to either of us and we can get you set up. Otherwise, I think we are all set to get started today, so I will pass it over to Brandon.
Thank you, Kelsey. And Kelsey's absolutely right. All of our advisors understand the majority of these programs we're going to be talking about today, so definitely get in touch with one of them if you want to learn a little bit more about anything we present today. And again, we're going to have some time at the end for some questions on anything else you might want to learn. So I was in a tech group, and nothing made my hairline recede back further than hearing the term early 21st century to remind us that we're not in the early 21st century anymore, right? The things that we were telling people, get on a website, get on Google, that's moving back into the early 21st century, and actually things have progressed. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the progressions and maybe a little bit into some of the future, the future big picture of what the world of business is going to look like. So just to begin, Kelsey gave a great overview. I'm Brandon McDonald. I work over at Northern Maine Development Commission, which Northern Maine is Caribou. So we're in Caribou, Maine, right at the tip. I worked in video game software development. I bet you couldn't guess that. I did an IT contracting job. And I work with the Maine Technology Institute. I sit on their IT board. So if you got anything that is innovative in the IT world, we'd love to talk to you. And I've worked with both the University of Maine and the University of Rhode Island in the past. So quick disclaimers, not going to be a sales pitch. Anything that I'm going to talk about today, they don't sponsor the Maine SBDC. If I give out a name, it's by example only. So let's say I give out the name Google. There's going to be 4 different competitors to Google that I encourage you to do some research and look up before you end up signing a contract with Google, for example. So anything I give out today, just understand it's a name only, just to signify this is like Band-Aid, right? It's a brand, and there's plenty of competitors out there just like it. You're going to know your needs much better than I do, especially in a webinar where many of us have probably never met before. So I encourage you to either set up some kind of one-on-one appointment or just chat with us. Send us an email, and we might be able to better help with a real sticky solution that you're looking to get. Some notes, we will be sharing the presentation at the end, just like Kelsey noted. We're going to have a dedicated time for questions. If there's something that you know you're going to forget about by the time the end comes, feel free to leave it in the chat, and we'll get to it at the end of the presentation. And throughout the presentation, there are going to be QR codes. So any of you who aren't already on your phones, if you understand QR codes, you'll open your camera app and hold it at the QR code. It's going to be a big white square. And I encourage you to take a look at any of these. And again, there's going to be links when this gets sent out to you guys as well. So you don't have to worry about the QR code thing in the moment. We will absolutely be sending out links after the presentation's over. So to begin, what are we going to be covering? We're going to talk a little bit about the automation of customer service and lead generation. We're going to talk about securing that online presence. What should you be doing to stay relevant online? Your social media ads. What are the trends looking like in social media ads? How do you secure your business assets? So we're not going to talk so much about physical security as much as cyber security. A little bit of fun talk on the far future, and then maybe a special mention or two. So what could you expect to gain today? Well, we're hoping you're going to get a stronger ability to audit your marketing strategy, your online presence, some physical technology options, along with basic cybersecurity literacy. So we just want to make sure that you feel more comfortable in these fields. We're going to have a quick discussion on future trends, small businesses. We're going to talk about my favorite tool when someone brings up cybersecurity by the end of this. So it's really worth it. And again, I hope to give you guys a very cheap laugh or your money back. So just get with Kelsey after this, and she'll take care of the guarantee. So we're going to begin with the automation, customer service, lead generation, figuring out how we're going to get those customers in the door, right? So some people just don't want to babysit their social media platforms. It's time to talk about getting a social media management platform, SMM. Sometimes they give it a different acronym. Really, all it is a babysitter for your social media. Usually they revolve around 20, 40 bucks a month. The benefits include queuing up your posts, making sure that almost all of your platforms can have queued posts for one day. You take one day out of the week, you can have your social media for the rest of the week done by queuing up posts and making content. It allows you to post your ads throughout social platforms. We're going to talk a little bit about chatbots, but some of these even link to chatbots, where a chatbot can link with or be connected to your social media platform. There are a couple options in this realm, and again, this is not the only list. We look at Hootsuite, we look at Loomly. Both of them are cost-effective options, but again, there's plenty of options in this realm. And I encourage you guys to look up something that would manage your social media if it feels like you're spending a lot of time daily on getting those social media posts up. For some people, it's just easier to just set it on a Monday and set it for the rest of the week. Now we're going to talk about chatbots. And a chatbot, if you ever go to a website and you see something pop up on the bottom right, hey, how can I help you? Hey, do you have any questions? A chatbot is almost like a virtual salesperson. So when someone visits your website, they're going to get this immediate interaction, right? They're going to have a feeling of, oh, they care about, me as a customer. They want me to learn more about their product. Chatbots can either be very simple, where it's almost like a click this button for the next option, the next answer from the bot. So maybe there's 3 separate sections you can click. Tell me more about the product. What ingredients do you use? Is your product vegan? And if you set in those answers, individuals don't have to call you. You don't have to be spending time on a phone answering those questions. They can get those answers right on your website or through the chatbot. Usually the best people who fit the need for a chatbot, if you have enough product supply, but not enough sales staff, and that includes not enough funding for sales staff. If you've got enough product supply and you're struggling to get the people to sell, especially in an online storefront, maybe a chatbot would work for you. If you get a lot of redundant questions going back to, is this product vegan? What allergens are in this product? Is this product American made? If you're getting a lot of redundant questions, sometimes the chatbot can take care of a lot of those, especially if it's something that you see a lot of. And if it's a non-luxury or not really a personalized good, an impersonal purchase, right? Nobody's going to be buying a car with a chatbot, at least not anytime soon. And so it's important to remember that, don't expect fine art, fine, graphics, services, anything like that to really benefit from chatbots as much as just more simple things. And then the bottom right, we talk about Tidio. So Tidio is a chatbot that is, again, we try to keep these a little cost effective, but there's 5, 6 different options that may fit your needs. So again, I'd encourage you to reach out to an advisor or reach out to whoever you trust with IT to talk a little bit about how chatbots would impact your business. So we move into the category of online presence, right? The online presence is the idea of, if I look up your business on Google or on Facebook, am I going to find you? And am I going to get my questions asked? That's an important one, is making sure that my questions get asked about your business. So I don't need to pick up the phone and call you, or I don't need to go out of my way and open the door and go in your store to find out if it has what I need. So looking into online presence, we talk about what should you be using for website creation, right? If you're on Yahoo GeoCities, I actually, if anyone remembers it, I had a client who just got off of Yahoo GeoCities. We graduated them. They were on a website builder straight out of 2001. Actually, it's from the 90s, but the last edition was closer to the early 2000s. We finally got them off of that and onto a WordPress website, which I want to begin by saying there is nothing wrong with WordPress. If you understand WordPress, if your IT person understands WordPress, absolutely no problem utilizing it, right? If you're looking to go outside of hiring an IT professional, maybe it's far outside your budget, you need something simple for your website going forward, there are options out there such as Wix or Squarespace. Again, 2 names out of a host of other drag and drop kind of website builders. And I love the idea of drag and drop. So we're going to talk a little bit about why drag and drop is so good in a minute. Going off of the drag and drop options, we talk about marketing, right? The idea of, here's what I have in my brain. I know I like pizza and I like cats, right? So you could put something together with whatever you're looking to do with your marketing. Takes a little bit of creative spirit. Got to be honest, there is a little bit of creative element needed on Canva, but Canva does have a great marketing library. I know this because I stole this entire presentation directly off of Canva. So you can find whatever you need just utilizing Canva. Again, it makes it just as foolproof as possible. You can go on, look at a template, and grab exactly what you need to get what your business is doing. I see it a lot with fashion. A lot of fashion bloggers, photographers, restaurants love utilizing Canva. Talk a little bit about stock photos and why to stay away from them. But if you're just looking to make something on the marketing side, Canva is a good option, along with, again, there are other options out there, including the Adobe Suite, that kind of acts on the same vein. So moving forward, we talk about the drag and drop element of things, right? It's almost like an intuition to us to go back and almost go to what we learned as children, right? The idea of trying to put the circle through the triangle-shaped hole and moving it. Drag and drop just feels great to us because we feel like we've got a lot of hands-on control to what we're doing. Wix, Canva, Squarespace, any of those companies, they don't need a knowledge of coding, right? We're not relearning the wheel. So these programs make it so as busy business owners, we can take a template, we can add our branding, which again, there are so many. I know Kelsey and I were part of a really awesome professional development seminar. Canva is such a great tool where you're able to pull out your brand colors, what you envision of your brand, your colors, your logo, and you'll create a press kit, a media kit, a branding kit, whatever you want to call it, of your information that can be swapped around as needed to create effective marketing. It's simplicity, it's familiarity. You're familiar with the process. There's some automation elements to it. You're able to click a button and have something completely created to fit what your colors, logo, and branding looks like. And it looks professional, right? It's not you going on Microsoft Paint and trying to make some kind of advertisement. It's not having to learn how to code or how to do embedding or anything like that. It's a lot easier to go through something that automates some of that process for you. So are you a stalker? right? Ensure the relevance of your stock photos. There are so many times when I sit down and just see ridiculous stock photos that just don't fit a business, right? Preserve your brand's integrity by utilizing stock photos that are as relevant as humanly possible to your business. When it comes to restaurants, food, baking, anything like that, don't use stock photos. You're not McDonald's. You're going to be held to that standard that you portray. So if you portray beautiful, visually appealing food and I go to your restaurant and I don't get it, I'm not going to give you the same leniency I have with a fast food chain. So Canva, along with plenty of other options, Shutterstock, there are almost virtual galleries where you're able to get some stock photos that might be relevant to you and what you do. We're visual people, right? We're gonna end up looking at something, and if it isn't kind of relevant to what we're doing, we're gonna forget. When it comes to selling, when it comes to showing off what you're about, it's all about telling a story. So if you're unable to tell a story with what you have, and that's common with new businesses, it's hard to have that buildup of a catalog of photos that you can pick from. Don't be afraid to tap into some stock photos as long as they're legally used. It's just make sure that it's relevant and telling a story whenever possible. Special mentions for other people who should kind of stay away from stock photography: artists, photographers, anyone in the creative economy. We want to see you. We want to see what makes you you. And as shocking as it may seem, we get quite a few clients who will utilize stock photography. So it's just a good idea to move away from it whenever it involves your products directly. Showcase what makes you special. So talking about social media ads, going back into the story, right? A good social media ad is going to portray that emotional feeling. It's going to tell a story. Try to refrain from stock photos whenever possible. It'll preserve your brand's integrity. A bad social media ad will feel generic and is poorly geofenced. Location with no demographic selected. Now, if this was a seminar, I'd usually ask people to, raise a hands if you've ever had an ad recommended to you on Facebook for an out-of-state business, an out-of-state restaurant. I'm sure many of us have seen it, like, wow, that pizza looks awesome. Wait a minute, they're in Ohio. Why am I getting this ad? That's a poor geofence. That's a poor demographic selection. So just because you have a good, captivating ad, you still have to work on it on the back end and make sure that it's only seen by relevant individuals. I encourage you to get in touch with an advisor if you don't understand how to get the proper demographic in touch with the ads that you're doing. Ask us today. We do it for free. Again, like Kelsey said, we are a free service provided by the Small Business Administration. So get in touch with one of us to help you figure out if your marketing is hitting the right people. Talking about geofencing, actually, we've got to talk a little bit about website scraping before we go into it. So website scraping, this is, Kelsey and I had a conversation earlier about the importance of a website being up to snuff, right? Make sure that there's no broken links, there's no long load times, and that the content isn't in a poor resolution. If you have a website that you're working with, it's important to either utilize something like Google Analytics, or if you're going a little bit more in depth, I like Screpy. So Screpy is one of the outliers here today, where they're actually free. So your first website through Screpy is free. You'll just input your email. And so you can check out your website today utilizing Screpy to find out what are the issues with my website. Am I taking too long to load? The average person, if they don't get that website loading within 3 to 5 seconds, there's a chance you're going to lose them. And that's the last thing you want. Put yourself in the consumer's shoes. Would you want to be waiting 10 to 15 seconds for a website to load? And if that answer is no, then make sure you audit yourself when you're done making a website, done making pages, even when your IT person or your marketing person is done. Make sure you go in the customer's shoes and visit that website and see what kind of issues are there. Screpy's a little bit more on the back end side of things. So it's not going to be how good the website looks. It's going to be more of, is it taking too long? Is your search engine optimization not working out? Search engine optimization is just SEO, that fancy thing that allows you to get shown higher in a search ranking, whether it's Google, Facebook, or any kind of algorithm that says, this is the business that people want to see. And a major key of that is having a good website without errors. And Screpy is going to help you find some of those errors. Very important if you're utilizing WordPress or you've had an outside third party develop your website. always good to have just a fresh set of eyes, in this case, AI eyes, to take a look at this. Looking at geofencing, the idea of location-based advertising. And so I'm up in Caribou, right? It's tough sometimes to sell the idea of location-based advertising when businesses can be few and far in between, especially in the more rural parts of Aroostook County. But when you're in Portland, when you're in Augusta, or any kind of metropolitan suburb around that, metropolitan suburb for us in Maine, it's the idea of, I'm looking up pizza and I'm walking past Auto Pizza, and all of a sudden my phone starts showing me an advertisement for Auto. It's like, how did they know that I was craving that? Well, it's because your phone, and most people keep location on, and most people allow their data to be utilized for it. You can be advertised to just based on where you are. And so if you are dependent on tourist traffic, if you're dependent on even customer traffic in a more urban area, it's going to be important for you to look into location-based geofence advertising. Geofence advertising, if you're in an urban area and you're not already doing this, I really encourage you to get in contact with someone to figure out how you can utilize geofencing to help you going forward, right? The pros of it, there's going to be more targeted ads to the individuals that matter. There's usually a cost per visit pay model. So it's not just how many people saw the ad, but how many people actually saw the ad, turned around, went into your store, and ticked off that location kind of algorithm. There's a way to kind of get paid just based on how many people step foot in the store. I like that about location-based advertising, but yes, it's going to be a little bit more expensive than the general cost per view or cost per click. Some pros can include poaching similar customers. So say that you are Brandon's Pizza, and I'm right down the road from Auto, and someone looks up Auto Pizza, and I have a geofenced ad that says whenever someone looks up pizza and they're within X number of blocks from me, I'm going to send them a 10% off coupon for new visitors, right? And now all of a sudden you're sitting at Auto, and as good as that mashed potato pizza sounds, 10% off sounds pretty good too, right? So there's an opportunity there to sometimes poach other customers, which we don't like talking about, but the truth of marketing is that's really what good marketing is about, is almost being competitive to make sure that you are what's in the limelight of your customers. So the cons, again, like we talked about, it's going to be a lot tougher for rural regions to utilize location-based advertising. Poor geofencing is actually going to lead you to overspending. So let's say you do too much of the western end of Old Port, and people don't want to walk that far. They don't want to travel that far. So if that's the case, then maybe that's not the geofence that you need. You need to understand how to condense that location to be the best benefit for your spending. And then there's VPNs. This is totally technical, but if someone's on a virtual private network, they can say they're from anywhere, and theoretically they could say they're from Portland, Maine, and that's going to tick off locations. We see this all the time with New York-based businesses. New York is a popular VPN location, but there are VPN locations in Portland. Don't worry about this if it doesn't apply to you, but if you're in a very, very, very urban area, this is just a little minor inconvenience to worry about. So moving on from that, we talk a little bit about cybersecurity. If you're super interested in cybersecurity, we've done a couple seminars on it at this point, and I'd say send an email out to me or Kelsey, and we will absolutely get you in touch with one of our recorded links. We're just going to go over maybe 1 or 2 sections on cybersecurity today, some of the bigger technologies that you have to be on the lookout for, the bigger things to keep you protected. So how can you ensure your longevity as a business if you're a victim of a cyber attack, right? How to think like an IT person or the IT company without any experience needed. Tell everyone to complete that plan of action. What are you going to do in the event of a cyber attack? We talk about business planning. At Maine SBDC, we pride ourselves on working with businesses who have strong business plans. Do you believe at this point your business could be hindered in the event of a cyber attack? And if you do, maybe it's a good idea to put something like this in your business plan. I know more and more banks are looking to hear how you would respond to a cyber attack. What's your protocol look like? Monthly backups of any of your files for regular businesses, weekly or more if there's sensitive data. And when I say sensitive data, it's not just tax returns, but it's anything that your business can't sustain without, right? You're in the CNC metal fabrication world. Can you operate for an extended amount of time if you don't have your CAD files, if you don't have your, if you're an artist, if you don't have your graphics files, if you don't have an Adobe file? Like, it's important to understand how long can you operate without your files. And if it's not that long, it's a good idea to start doing some backups. Cybersecurity begins with updates. I encourage you to stop putting off those updates, especially on Windows. I'm guilty of it. I actually don't tell anyone. I said update later, but the update's new. It's relatively new. So I'll be updating after we're done with this. But we all know how annoying those update now kind of pop-ups can be. But the first line of defense to any kind of security is making sure your computer is up to date. Because let's face it, antivirus, anti-malware, spyware, any of that, most of the time it's something that we pick up just browsing Chrome. Something that we don't really download anymore because most of our computers can block things by default. So really, it's just ensuring that we are updated against the most recent of attacks. So anyone who gets this quote, you are the new best friend of the day. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how it's going to end, but I did come here to tell you how it's going to begin. So answering some future questions that we get quite a bit. Should I take cryptocurrency as a payment? So this was actually written back when cryptocurrency wasn't in the same situation it's in right now for anyone who follows the crypto world. I look at it as, can your business afford to hold a volatile investment, right? Would you ever sell a plate of food in exchange for Tesla stock, a fraction of Tesla stock? And if the answer is no, then you probably shouldn't be taking cryptocurrency at this time. Cryptocurrency, just like a stock or an investment, is a volatile investment. And unless you say, yes, I can afford to take the loss, or I'm ready to hold on to it for a long-term gain, you probably shouldn't be dabbling and taking it. Another question we hear, the metaverse, we're seeing more artists looking to go on the metaverse. We see a lot more talk about NFTs. Unless that's your world, if you're an early technology adopter, I wouldn't focus too much on the metaverse. There was a test of the metaverse 2 decades ago. For anyone who remembers, it was called Second Life, and everyone's library and everyone's public school tried getting onto it for a while. It was honestly the metaverse of its time 2 decades ago. And we learned that gimmicks did cost businesses and virtual assets depreciated heavily. That was hard for most of us to swallow 2 decades ago. And unfortunately, we're hoping history doesn't repeat itself this time, but just always utilize caution. Going back to the answer to question 1, if you can afford to hold a volatile investment, then absolutely get into it. Otherwise, the answer is normally no. And how much AI, or in this case, how much automation is it okay for me to use? I want to support local. I want to stay a small business. And the question I have for you is, how impacted is your business going to be if you don't utilize one of these automation options? Are you going to be in danger of closing or cutting your own staff if you don't utilize a marketing tool, if you don't utilize a customer relationship management tool, a chat bot? If you can't stay open without the use of one of these products, then how are you going to continue supporting the small business economy without you having a steady income yourself? So it's important to remember there's ethics and there's reality. If you have the funding and it's in your ethics to not utilize an automation program and support small, I encourage you to do it. The goal of this is not to take a job away from a web designer, a marketer, anyone like that. It's to ensure that if you need the help to do something like this on your own, that you have the tools to look into. And then if you don't understand them, you should be utilizing consultants to help you understand those tools. Couple other trends. If anyone follows Wendy's, you're probably having the same whiplash that I get. So Wendy's is going through a thing right now. They market to what my expectation is a younger crowd through social media, and they type in all caps. They ask strange questions on their Facebook page. If you haven't gone to Wendy's Facebook page in a while, go check it out after this. It's a riot. And it works. It's a kind of viral marketing that they're able to sit down and say, there's a generational shift, right? Everyone loves hamburgers, but for some reason, younger people are eating more Panera bread, right? We want to capture them, so we want to seem relevant and funny, and they do. There's some people who try a little hard, and Wendy's went head first, right? I mean, Wendy's is just as out there as it can get right now with their marketing and advertising. So sometimes it pays to be a little bit ready to jump in with both feet if you know that's going to fit your demographic. Always talk to someone who's in the marketing field before you do anything extreme. But we see it in Maine. We'll see viral ads based on humor. Humor wins. I mean, humor is one of the big things right now in an otherwise divided kind of world. It's important to have humor. It's important to be able to laugh. And if you can capture their attention for 5 seconds of laughing, then you might be able to convert a sale. We're now talking about real virtualities and budget experiences. So we, some of you are in the Bangor area. You probably know the concert cancellation, and they're actually talking about how in the future, VR, and we're already seeing it now with Live Nation and anyone who works with musicians. You can stay at home and you can put on your headset and you can be at the front row of a concert. Thanks to technology. What does that mean for hospitality in 10 years? Are we going to be doing our vacations in Bermuda through VR? I hope not, but maybe that's the way to go. Maybe that's what's going to happen. So just remember that when it comes to trends, always be looking at what's going to happen next and how you can keep your business sustainable, right? The businesses that got hit pretty hard in 2020 were the ones that weren't able to adapt to takeout, delivery, online shifts. So it's important to understand what's the trends look like for the next couple of years. And emerging technology you see now might look crazy. The idea of having a drone deliver your merchandise might be crazy now, but in 5 years, it might be the norm. Again, it's important to remember we're getting out of that early 21st century. That hurts to remember. So it's always important to be looking at the newest trends whenever you can to find out what's going to benefit your business the most. So doing the math on automation, right? We talk about the importance of keeping local if you can afford it. But if you can't, we talk a little bit about what the math looks like on an automation general idea. $13 on Canva, $45 on some social media marketing, some cloud storage so you don't get messed up should anyone steal your documents or hijack your computer, along with a customer relationship platform. So something that takes care of your customers, might talk to them, might send them emails. That's right around $130 a month. The difference is if you were to take some of these jobs and put them onto an individual, it adds up. It adds up very quickly. Is the individual going to do the job better? Absolutely. Almost every time the individual is going to do the job better than automation. But not all of us are fortunate enough to have the funding to pay for an individual, which is where this comes in. Automation, AI, these seamless user interface programs, they're in a relative infancy. So we're almost in this early adopter stage. There's pros and cons to utilizing these services and platforms. But if you're struggling with employee shortages, this might be something that could help you, especially if it's sales employees, marketing employees, marketing, anything that's helping you get that customer lead generation. Have you been compromised? If you don't have a QR code reader, we'll put this in at the end. I'll put a link to it, but essentially it's a website that I've used before in another webinar called Have I Been Pwned? And I'm going to put that right in the chat right now before I forget, actually. So this website will ask you only your email. It will ask you your email, and then it's going to tell you of all the websites you've signed up for, how many of those websites has your information been compromised at? If any of those tick off, it's also going to actually tell you your password. You don't put your password in, it's going to say, hey, we know your password because it's on the dark web, and they go through the dark web and find it. So if you see yourself on that website, one of the biggest things I want you to take from this is to ensure that your password is different than anything else on that website. Again, it's not going to ask you your password. It's just going to ask your email, and then it's going to show you your password. It's going to be pretty creepy. But for anyone who's compromised, make sure you take some action today, especially if it's your bank account, to make sure that that password is different going forward. Well, thank you. We're open to any questions. Tell me what I missed. We love utilizing the stock photos here, and I'm pretty sure that's relevant, although I got to check with our marketing guru after this. So what do you guys think the future holds? How can we continue to adapt to the shifts in our needs? Were there any other fixes you were hoping to learn about today? We do have a QR code down there, but that was the separate presentation for business advisors, kind of similar to this one, but we'll send out this presentation separately. So you will get a separate presentation altogether with a PDF, so you can go through this on your own time. My email's there. You can feel free to get in touch with me, get in touch with Kelsey. One of us will help you. And as Kelsey said, there is going to be some time for questions. And I did see the chat popping up, so I think we'll go through those questions in the order they were sent. But otherwise, that's all I have, Kelsey.
As the official marketer and a fiber artist, I approve of the sheep photo immensely. I've also, you reminded me of, I have been getting a lot of ads for a fiber festival in Portland, Oregon. And I don't live in Portland, Oregon, but now I really want to go to this festival, but it's in Oregon and everything only says Portland. And it's like bad. I mean, it's a great ad. They did find me, but I am not technically their audience. So you want to make sure that that geofencing is doing its job, not just the demographic section of that. So the chat was very engaged today. Thank you all for your comments and suggestions. We got a lot of Canva fans here. So I did include a link to a Canva webinar that we hosted last month with one of our marketing specialists, Corey Zimmerman. So she goes through like the basics of Canva and how to get things set up. So there is a free version, which is great. You can totally get by with just the free version. The paid version does have a few things that are exceptional, and I love it immensely. So most of what you see from the Maine SBDC was made in Canva. So if it's something that works for your business's budget, I would look into it. It's a lot cheaper than the Adobe programs, and you can do the majority of what, if you're not a graphic designer, Canva will cover more than enough. So there was like a bunch of conversation about that. I'm trying to think. Kelly had a question about Google files and the safety of Google. Can we trust Google?
So when it comes to, I'm muted. When it comes to Google, so remember that Google already has most, if not all, your data. So when it comes to Google themselves doing something with your data, it's too late, right? With Google, they already know what you put on there. Now, when it comes to the safety of, can someone else access that? It's as safe as your password, which goes back to the haveibeenpwned.com link. Is your Google password out on the internet somewhere? And if it is, I can probably log into your Google account. I can go to your Google Drive and I can pull off all those pictures of all those cats in the pizza parties that you have with them, right? So just important to remember, if you think your account can be compromised, your Google Drive can probably be compromised from there. Now, if you have a rock strong password, if you have two-factor authentication, which means when I try to log in, I get a notice to my phone, it's a lot harder for me to access your files. You got to make sure when you upload them, they're not public files, right? You got to make sure that's a private file. And as long as it's a private file, you should be all set. A Google Drive is going to be just as safe as a Dropbox. Dropbox is the alternative to a Google Drive. The only thing safer would be creating your own server hosted at your organization and locking it in a room and only password protecting it for people who need to know. That's the only thing safer than putting it on some kind of secured Google Drive.
Good to know all around. I feel like I learn stuff in these webinars constantly. So I hope that everyone else feels the same. Yep, we got a thank you from the question asker. Yeah, there are no other questions. So if you have one, go ahead and stick it in there. Also, we're a pretty small group. If you want to just unmute yourself, you might have a complex question. Brandon, what would you say is the one thing everyone should do after this webinar? If
Go to
there's
that
one
website.
Oh, okay. Go find out if you got one.
check to make sure your passwords haven't been compromised. If you take one thing from this, you're like, I don't want to mess around with Canva, I don't want to mess around with anything else, just please make sure that your passwords haven't been compromised. It's going to tell you your password and you're going to be like, oh no, I got to change it. If someone has the password to your social media, it's kind of bad. If someone has the password to your bank account, that's really bad, right? So we want to make sure that you don't have any passwords sitting around on the dark web anymore. I remember, none of us are perfect. I put in my email and it feels like every other time I put my email on that website, there's yet another place where one of my older passwords got leaked, right? So just make sure that the passwords leaked are old ones. Chrome did a good thing recently. If anyone uses Chrome, Google Chrome, it'll tell you your password has been used on another website. It's been found on the dark web. So if you get that warning, maybe it's time, especially if it's an account you're concerned about, something that could jeopardize your business, just make sure it's safe. Other than that, the only other thing I encourage people to get into, I am not a marketing person at all. Like, I have zero marketing experience other than what I did for my own business years ago. And Canva has been like such a huge help to what I do. When it comes to presentations, marketing, PowerPoint is great. We all have been in the PowerPoint world, but Canva is just so much more engaging. And I got to actually give props to Fast Forward Maine, Rich Brooks and Yuri Nabokov when he was on there. Both of them told how it was powerful to create a good story utilizing good marketing. And I feel like Canva fits good marketing. But again, anything can fit that drag and drop kind of tendency we have. But I love the ability of me, a guy who came from the IT world. I don't have an artistic bone in my body. My wife's an artist. I let her deal with all that. And I can just drag and drop to what I feel fits my needs. So I encourage you guys, if you need help with marketing, Canva is just a lifesaver.
And as a marketer with a bachelor's in fine art, I can also say Canva is a lifesaver. So it doesn't matter your level of experience. It's really pretty exceptional what is available in the free version. Honestly, you do not need the paid version to get by. Brandon and I can say, like, we recently got the paid versions here at the Maine SBDC, and it feels like a whole world opened up. But for the last 2 years, I've been getting by with just the free version. So go ahead and sign up for the free version and see how it goes. And then, if you're finding that there's a little crown on everything you want to click, then you might need the paid version. I just see thank yous coming into the chat. I got a couple of private messages saying thank you as well. So I don't see any other questions. But thank you, Brandon. Definitely. You're always great at making kind of scary subjects and topics seem more approachable and not quite so daunting. And thank you to everyone who came and joined us today. Like I said, I will probably send out the follow-up email tomorrow morning. But you'll have the slides and all of those clickable links will be in there, as well as the recording. So if there's anything you want to rewind to, you can go back. But otherwise, I hope that everyone has a lovely afternoon.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.